TikTok time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all you whiners, all you complainers, all you crybabies wanting late, even though we were live for 3 hours straight just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, we got a
Oh,
stream
David, it's just late
marathon.
again. What?
We got a stream marathon going on for you guys. Multiple streams in a day, and lots to catch up on because there's a lot of other streams that are happening too.
Oh, yeah. So we've got this stream. Then tomorrow we'll be live on Jai's channel going through more of the debate that we're going to watch right now. And then we have to stop by 7 because at 7 p.m. I'm debating Andrew Wilson on an interesting topic for all you orthobros. And then as soon as that's finished, we'll be live over on IP's channel with Avery, a.k.a. God Logic, and Lady Logic going through the last prompt of Lady Logic's debate. So anyway, yep. Pretty busy couple days, but should be fun. All right, guys, so we have our debate now, and the topic is something like, is Allah God, or is Allah the true God, or something like that? Oh, are you kidding me?
Oh, dude, I already know. We all know what this means. What's up, Issa? Welcome to the stream. By the way, we had a surprise visit on my stream. It was with AP. AP joined us. So if you guys want to see that after this one, check it out.
Hey, Issa, did you try
Thanks,
sending?
brothers.
Hey, did you try sending a private chat yesterday, or
I did because my internet's bad. I'm in Kentucky and the internet's horrible. We're out. I'm like on a trip to help folks here.
So you know, in the latest edition of Ecamm, they'll fix it with the next update. But in the latest edition of Ecamm, for some reason, whenever anyone tries to send a private chat, it shuts the entire stream down. Weird glitch. So you're the one causing it.
Issa did the Sims.
I'm so sorry. I did it once. I apologize.
Yeah. So you did it, and Chris, defending a lion, did it beforehand, but it was actually good because we figured out that was the issue. We couldn't figure out why it shut down. I thought YouTube was shutting down the streams for some reason, then we're just letting me go back on. Afterwards, Chris said, "Hey, it happened right when I tried to send a private chat," and I said, okay, we'll do it now, just like when we weren't even online, but we're still using Ecamm. And as soon as he clicked it, the whole thing shut down. So I was just wondering if anything else was causing the problem. That's why I asked you. I'm actually glad you did it because now we know that was the cause of the problem in both times. So that problem is solved. As long as no one sends any private chats, then we are good. Good to go. You see, Issa has the power of the Mahdi to shut down David's streams. So, Issa, we have a pretty heartbreaking stream for you because we're watching a debate on whether Allah is the true God.
Uh-oh, scary.
And I have to say, this did not go well for the Muslim side, man, right?
They did horrible. I watched it. They did horrible. I'm sorry. They did really bad.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Whoa. Interesting. You heard it here, folks. Issa just renounced Islam. Crazy times. All right, guys, so this is the third prompt. We went through the first prompt, which was, is the Trinity biblical? We went through that last night. Then before this live stream over on Jai's channel, we went through the prompt that was something like, is Muhammad a good example for mankind, or something like that? Now we're going through, is Allah the true God, or however they worded it? And then next prompt, the fourth prompt for tomorrow on Jai's channel is something along the lines of like the preservation of, or something like that?
The Quran being the word of God / preservation of the Quran.
Okay, so about the Quran tomorrow, that'll be 5 p.m. on Jai's channel. Then 7 p.m. I have a debate with Andrew Wilson. And then right after the debate with Andrew Wilson, we'll be live over on IP's channel for the final prompt, which, what was the final prompt? Do you remember?
I can look it up real quick.
I'll look it up. If you're just going to have to look it up, I can look it up.
Doesn't it have to do with Muhammad's character?
No, that was the second one.
The one we did.
Oh, okay.
I missed that one.
Women are mistreated.
Women are mistreated.
Women are mistreated in Islam. So that's interesting. Yeah. But yeah, that'll be on IP's channel tomorrow. So should be a fun time. Fun time. Mm-hmm. All right, take these first couple super chats and then we'll jump into it. We've got Jack Ray here. David always making the excuses. Mike Winger doesn't make excuses. He makes enemies cry. Yeah, he makes everyone cry. Dang, David is always behind, but not like the Zut. That's true. At least Malik never shows up late. He didn't show up at all. Or does a drive-by. One I and negative I are all ones. One by absolute value. Add and multiply into one. Thanks, David. Yeah, you can actually, I talked to a mathematician about that. He said there should be infinitely many solutions where you can multiply three numbers on the complex plane that all have a absolute value of 1 and get 1. So Orthoducklips made a video lying about Matthew 23. Shocker. Orthoducklips lying. I don't believe it. Lying about Matthew 23, 1-3, calling it the Christian dilemma. He says Jesus is totally affirming all of the Pharisees' teachings, but also contradicts them. Yeah, if you learn one thing about Jesus from his interactions with the Pharisees, it's that he's affirming all of their teachings. That's definitely the takeaway. Good to know. And we have Hatun has a full song on exactly this prompt. Oh, yeah. It's Allah is a false God, a false God, a false God. Yeah. And we have today's the day, Issa. This will make you convert. Oh, he's already feeling the heat. Already spotted the weakness in the Islamic position. But we're gonna check it out. All right, everyone ready? Anyone want to say anything beforehand?
Yeah, Issa, you're not driving, are you? You're passenger. Okay, maybe you can't hear us. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say before we get started.
Yeah, if he were driving, he'd be on the wrong side man. What do you think he's
driving
in the UK or something? Oh, you're saying cameras reverse? Yeah.
Mirror, yeah.
All right, guys. So is Allah the true God? We are finally going to settle this issue right now. No follow-ups after this. This is the final answer, everyone. No further questions after this. And here we go.
My next prompt is Allah is not God.
Boom.
Hi, I'm Hannah. Nice to meet you.
That is loud.
I'm Saida.
I'm Khadija.
I remember you, Khadija.
I remember you too,
I've seen you before. Okay, so
Wait, who? Khadija? Was she in the debate they had last year?
Oh yeah, that was the
one with the jean jacket.
No, the one on the far right. The one on the far right. She was there too, wasn't she?
Oh, okay.
And she was
Khadija. Yeah, that's Khadija there.
She was the one who said that the Torah was corrupted, but she never read it. Remember?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was her. Yeah, that was her.
I remember. Sometimes I mainly listen to stuff and I don't watch. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's interesting. So, yep, she's been on. She was on last year. So, good to know. Good to know. Let's check it out.
I've seen you before. Okay, so my prompt is Allah is not God. And before we get into it, I just want to clarify that I know the word Allah means God. And that's not what we're talking about today. I want to talk about God's attributes.
Do you guys have any clue how brilliant that was right there? Why? Because you're about to see all the Muslim women came prepared to say, but the word Allah means God. So she starts off before they say a word. Just so everyone knows, I know the word Allah means God. That's not what I'm talking about. That's awesome. That's awesome stuff.
Like a preemptive strike. So you guys, just so you guys know, they get these prompts in advance so they can kind of prepare a little bit. So it's from what David is saying, it sounds like that all of them had prepared to just say, oh, in the Christian Bible, let's say like in Arabic, it says Allah. Like, so that's what they prepared on, but she just kind of shut it all down right there.
And Yeah, and they're going to keep trying to just go right back to that. But it means Allah. It means Allah, and they can't get their minds around any argument she's making. But it means God. It means God, and it's like, I don't get the point. If I walked in and I said, "Hey, I call this cup God. Is this the true God?" And you say, "No, that's not the true." But I'm calling it God. I don't care if you're calling it God. It's not God. No, I say it's God. Right. Really weird argument, but that's apparently the best they can. I'm not joking when I say that is the best they have to offer in this debate. This is wild stuff. All right, let's check it out. Yep, we lost Issa.
This is like a repeat.
Yeah,
everything went uphill yesterday when Issa fell off.
All right, here we go.
Clarify that I know the word Allah means God, and that's not what we're talking about today. I want to talk about God's attributes. So does the God of Islam, does the God that the Quran teaches, is he God? So I have a question for you guys. Can God have any evil in him? Can God be evil?
No. I mean, and for how I see Allah and God, they're, as you said, you already know, direct translation, Allah equals God. And I mean, I guess when it comes to your question and backtracking to the actual prompt, so for us, we believe, because there's another prompt coming up later that also kind of comes into play with this, of it being a preserved book or preserved script. This is also what we believe the Gospels. We do take into account all of the other biblical or Judaism religions. We take in all those religions and we believe those as well.
That was convincing.
Islam.
Everyone noticing none of this has to do with anything Christina asked.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out like.
Yeah, but also notice where she says we take all these things into account, like we've got a healthy appreciation for these things, and she's struggling to find words to even refer to them. Like she's so respectful towards all these other things that, what do you call those things again? Right? We love those previous books that
Yeah, and you can love the previous books all you want. The question is Allah God? And the question Christina specifically asked is, can God be evil? Like, can God have any evil? Is there evil in God? And that should have just been quick. No. But we get the rest of this. So anyway, let's let her continue here.
They're biblical or Judaism religions. We take in all those religions and we believe those as well. But
we take in all the religions and we believe those as well. Oh my goodness, that's good. That's good to know. That's good to know.
It looks like she was looking for some support from the other.
We believe in all. We believe in all the religions. We believe in all of them.
She's like, right, and then just kind of left her hanging. Like they're like, you're on your own with this one.
Oh. But it's actually, so I saw half of this prompt. She will later identify herself as a Quran only Muslim, right?
Oh,
so she doesn't even take in all of the Hadith. I don't know what she's doing talking about.
But all the previous scriptures, they're good to go.
Mm-hmm. We take it
all the religions. We like all the religions.
But
then
not
she
Muhammad
should,
Sunnah.
Yeah, she should love that new Mahdi, because he's all the things from all the religions. So we've got a religion for you, honey. All right, here we go.
Biblical or Judaism religions. We take in all those religions and we believe those as well. But Islam for us is the extension, the after. So for God being God and Allah, it is one. It's connected. So that's how I see it. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming
I would like to ask, what evil would you see in God, or what evil has he caused?
Well, I actually agree we're all on the same page so far that God is not evil. Okay. And so I'm sure we might be on the same page here that God does not want human beings to sin.
Correct.
And are we in it, who would you say is the entity or being that wants us to sin?
Shaitan.
Shaitan. Okay. So,
It's done,
I
guys.
can see where she's leading. She's leading them down a dark alley right now.
It's not Muhammad's dark alley in the night of Al-Zut, but it's really, really bad, guys. Those two questions: is there any evil in God? No. Who's the entity who really wants us to sin? Shaitan. They agreed. It's done. The debate is over. Allah is not God. They just don't know it yet, but they're about to find out the hard way.
Man, it's like
but they're not going to know they found out.
Yeah,
no, they won't. It'll take a while. They have to be like reminded over and over and over again, and it sucks because you guys are about to see what happens. So I backed it up a little bit, but here we go.
All on the same page so far that God is not evil. Okay. And so I'm sure we might be on the same page here that God does not want human beings to sin.
Correct.
And are we who would you say is the entity or being that wants us to sin? Shaitan. Okay.
Good to know. Hang on. Can't get away from people who are dying for attention here. All right.
I'm so sorry. I think there was a question asked. I was on my computer and I couldn't hear. So I went on my phone.
All right, that's good. At least you're not driving anymore.
Oh, I wasn't driving. I was a passenger, but
we know. All right, here we go.
So, I have a question for you guys. In Sahih Muslim 2749, it says, by the hand of Allah, if you were not to sin, Allah would sweep you from the face of the earth and replace you with those who would sin and seek forgiveness, and he would pardon you. Why in this hadith is Allah being portrayed as someone, a God, who would rather have people sin than not sin?
Want everyone to understand that because the ladies here don't seem to understand it. We'll read two hadiths here. Check this out. So, this is Sahih Muslim 2749. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's messenger. Let me get this off the screen. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's messenger having said, by him in whose hand is my life, if you were not to commit sin. Notice he doesn't say, hey, if you commit sin, I'll have a problem. He says, if you were not to commit sin, Allah would sweep you out of existence and he would replace you by those people who would commit sin and seek forgiveness from Allah, and he would have pardoned them. You guys getting this? Allah says, Muhammad says that Allah wants you to sin so that he can forgive you. If you didn't, if you were completely sinless and you refused to sin and you only did the right thing, always, he would destroy you. He would sweep you out of existence. He would make you cease to be. And then he would create someone else who would sin so that he could forgive them. All right, one more. This is Sahih Muslim 2748b. Allah's messenger said, if you were not to commit sins, Allah would have swept you out of existence and would have replaced you by another people who have committed sin and then asked forgiveness from Allah, and he would have granted them pardon. So everyone getting this? These are very important hadiths right here on what Allah wants. He wants you to sin. Why? Because he can't be forgiving. He can't be forgiving if you don't sin, and then he forgives you. So he can't actually have all his attributes and so on. So his attributes are dependent on you sinning. And so he's like, well, if they don't sin, I'll just destroy them and create more people who will sin. What if those people don't sin? Well, I'll destroy them again, and then I'll keep creating people until they do what I want, which is to sin. Now, everyone, hope you're getting where Christina's going with this, because again, the Muslim women are going to have a difficult time understanding anything that's going on right here. But
because she already got them to agree
beforehand.
Satan is the one that wants them to sin.
Yeah, so no evil in God. So if there's no evil in God, then God obviously doesn't want you doing evil. But who does want you doing evil? They agreed. Shaitan. You have Muhammad saying that Allah wants you to sin, wants you to do evil. See the problem here already? So I'm going to back it up just so everyone knows the hadith that Christina's talking about. And we'll check it out again, and then we'll see how the ladies respond.
So, I have a question for you guys. In Sahih Muslim 2749, it says, by the hand of Allah, if you were not to sin, Allah would sweep you from the face of the earth and replace you with those who would sin.
Oh, my goodness. By the way, I just noticed because I listened to this yesterday, but I was just listening to it. I wasn't watching it, but she's quoting it from memory, right? She's not reading it off her paper. She's quoting it from memory.
Yeah. She got all the references memorized, and she's got the hadith themselves, the content as well.
Yeah, you guys done messed up. You guys done messed up messing with her, and it's amazing. Here you have Christina quoting the passages, and the Muslims have no clue what she's talking about. Why? Because their leaders and their dawah guys never break this down for us, which is important, guys. It's important. They are never going to hear the stuff that's in their sources unless they hear it from us. They're just not going to hear it, and so they never know that there's a problem here or there's an issue, because they're never told about anything that's in their sources except for what their leaders want them to hear. And so pretty messed up. But here we have one more time.
4:9. It says, by the hand of Allah, if you were not to sin, Allah would sweep you from the face of the earth and replace you with those who would sin and seek forgiveness, and he would pardon you. Why in this hadith is Allah being portrayed as someone, a God, who would rather have people sin than not sin?
In what context is the hadith? Like, who said it?
This is in Sahih Muslim.
Do you mind if I interrupt quickly for this?
What's up?
I find this to be such a strange question every single time this arises. Okay, there's information that you find questionable, then you say, well, who said it? Well, that's not how hadith works. It doesn't matter. The matan, which is like the content of the hadith, that's not really what is usually engaged with. It's the chain, it's the isnad. Like, is the isnad like legitimate? So it's so weird every time they're like, where is this coming from? I'm like, obviously, what I've seen for most Christian apologists is they're citing Sahih hadith. And I don't even think that even really matters. It's a part of the corpus. So it's really strange that instead of actually engaging the information, it's this deflection tactic where it's like, well, I don't actually want to engage the information. I'm just going to say, is this information correct? Why don't you grant it that it might be real? Because a lot of the time when I see the engagement towards Christian apologists, they will just say, like, for example, we saw earlier on, they brought up Nehemiah, and she's like, well, I think this is a problem talking about how, the way the identity of what God is supposed to be. Well, why? And I think this is just a strange thing that I see every single time. It's the same phenomenon where it's like, well, is this information valid? Instead of actually engaging the content of the information. I think that would be a more credible position,
And yeah, and again, Christina's quoting this from memory, so I can't even tell what to be fair, I can't even tell what Khadija is asking here if she says, who's saying this? I don't know if she means like, oh, well, it's Muhammad saying it, or if it's like the companion, or if she's talking about the entire chain, or if she's talking about the source. So Christina thinks she's asking for the source, so she says Sahih Muslim. But yeah, so... there it's Abu Ayyub Ansari reported that Allah's messenger said, and this is in Sahih Muslim. And again, we have two of those.
She mentioned 2749, the hadith after that, which is through Abu Hurairah back to Muhammad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this one's Abu Hurairah. Mm-hmm. Yep, reported Allah's messenger as having said. So we got multiple companions there reporting that Muhammad said this. And so, yeah, they're going to be like, well, what's the context? What's this? What's that? And it's like, I don't know what context you need, what scenario you think would make sense of Muhammad declaring to you, if you guys didn't sin, Allah would destroy you all. He'd destroy you because he wants you to sin so that he can forgive you of your sins. Yeah, matter of fact, Muslims, since it doesn't give the context, you provide any context that would make that true and compatible with what you already believe, namely your belief that there's no evil in Allah and Shaitan is the one who wants you to sin. Come up with some context that makes it okay for Muhammad to say, if you didn't sin, Allah would destroy you. He wants you to sin. He would replace you. He would destroy you and replace you by people who would sin so that he can forgive them. Anyway, but they're kind of programmed to do, as Issa was pointing out, they're kind of programmed to say, well, what is this? Is this strong? Where's the source and stuff like that? But they're also programmed to shout context. Well, what's the context? What's the context? Well, it doesn't give any context. It just says this is something Muhammad said. All right, so back it up there.
I think that people are used to doing this when you've got a narrative, like in the Bible or something like that. What's the context? And sometimes they're just saying that to shuffle, right? They're trying to get away from the implications. But it doesn't really work here with the Hadith. The vast majority of them don't give you its historical context, not any kind of context with specificity, right? That's one of the issues. You're often wondering, where in the world is this situated in the life of Muhammad? Now, I'm not saying all Hadiths are like that. There are some that do help you determine where the context is, but that's just not true in most cases.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go.
Rather have people sin than not sin.
In what context is the hadith? Like, who said it?
This is in Sahih Muslim.
I know, but hadiths are narrated.
Right.
So
I can't remember who narrates it off the top of my head. I can't get that for you, but it is Sahih. It's authentic. Mm-hmm. And so I'm asking you guys why it says what it says. Why God would sweep those who don't sin off of the face of the earth and replace them with sinners who would seek his forgiveness.
Well, we touched on a lot of things, right? The subject is Allah is not God. That's what you came up with.
Yes.
So you're saying in one way that you don't believe that another language exists and is equal to translate.
Exactly
Because you say is not, is equal.
Did you guys just hear that? So you're saying you don't believe another language exists. Okay, I get it. I was like, what in the world is she babbling about? She's talking about the word Allah, right? So you don't believe that the word God can exist in another language. So she's going with, she's back to, but the word Allah means God in Arabic. She's back to that, which Christina said, I already know this from the beginning. She's talking about like, what is the actual concept of God in Islam? Do we believe, does it sound like the real God to us? And she gave an argument and you would expect a response. Instead it's, you're saying another language doesn't exist. She actually said that. Let's listen to this. Let's hear her out, guys. Let's hear her out.
Allah is not God. That's what you came up with.
Yes.
So you're saying in one way that you don't believe that another language exists and is equal to translate. Because
she started laughing. No, that's not what I said. All right.
Wow.
That another language exists and is equal to translate. Because when you say is not, is equal, right? Not meaning is void, right? So you don't believe that the term Allah, right, is another word for God.
That's actually the opposite of what I said, which is why I introduced this prompt the way that I did.
Okay.
I know that the word Allah means God. I don't believe that the Allah of Islam is God because he wants people to sin. And at the beginning of this conversation,
she has to break everything down for them again.
Yeah, so she already preempted this, like you said. This is the route that a lot of them want to take. But she's not saying that Allah doesn't mean God. She's saying, no, Allah, the God of Islam, Allah, is not God. Mm-hmm. So it's confusing.
So they're just going, but this is what the word means.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Lots of people have words for the deity that they worship, and their language's version of God or Lord or something like that. Does that
Yeah.
mean that that's the true God? I mean, even Allah. Allah was part of the pagan pantheon. So you had the polytheists, and they believe that there's Allah, and Allah has daughters, and this and that. And would you say, well, the word means God, so that's the true God? No, you wouldn't say that. You'd say, what a Muslim would say is, the pagans, they had a correct word that means God, but their concept of God and their beliefs about God were incorrect. And Islam is here to correct them. Well, I mean, imagine a pagan at the time using the exact same response, right? So the Muslims come along, Muhammad gives them revelations, and they say, hey, your beliefs are false. So like, what are you talking about? We believe in Allah. It's like, yeah, but you're wrong about Allah. It's like, but the word means God. We believe in God. You believe in God. It's like, yeah, but your beliefs about God are incorrect. No, it means God. It means God. What could your problem be? That's what she's doing now. Oh my goodness.
Maybe
I have a
this could
question
have saved
too.
a lot of conversation. Oh yeah. This could have saved a lot of conversation. Maybe we said Allah is not the true God. Maybe it would have saved some of this. But go ahead, Issa.
Well, my question is, would she accept like the Hebrew name, you know, and does she accept like the holy name, the YH, WH name? Would she accept that as the name of God? And that's the name, the Hebrew name, Elo, Him. Like, would she accept that? That's an interesting question that I would be curious to know. Because she's saying it's about the language. I mean, obviously, if you're a person who follows Christ, you're going to believe in these Hebrew names of God, so find that interesting. I would be curious what she thinks about.
One way of illustrating this to her, and I haven't checked this, maybe Jai's able to do so quickly and easily, but it would be interesting because they mentioned that the term Allah is used in Christian translations of the Bible. Well, in that case, it's translating the Hebrew word Elohim. So it's not the equivalent in Christian Bibles of Yahweh. It's a translation of the more generic term God. But in that case, then, you would expect to find it in places like 1 Kings 18:27, when Elijah is telling the Baal worshippers, you call upon your God, where in Hebrew it's Elohim. So I'm curious how the Arabic Bible would put it. Does it say you call upon your Allah, or would it say Illah? I mean, I don't know. But I'm sure in certain places it's going to use Allah in any case, where it's not referring to the God of Israel. That may not be one such occurrence, but somewhere along the lines, that's probably the case.
Oh, and
Paul, here's another example. In the New Testament, Paul says in Philippians, he says of certain people, your God is your belly. And in Greek, it actually uses the definite article. It says your, and then it says ha theos, the God to you is your belly. So, are they willing to say that must be the true God then, because it's Allah? And if you deny that, do we say you think there's only one language?
Yeah, or when he says there are many gods and many lords, right? What's he talking about? Well, there's lots of false gods, right? Like, I mean, and think as Muslims are very quick to point out, even Christians, even Arabic-speaking Christians will refer to God as Allah. But what are Christians talking about? They're talking about the Trinity. So would Muslims say, therefore, the Trinity is true because you're saying God? You're saying God? No, they'd say, yeah, but you're using the correct term, but your concept of God is wrong. Or Baal, right? Baal, total pagan god. It means Lord. The word means Lord. So, oh, you believe in the Lord, right? Yeah, I believe in the Lord too. Okay, so you believe in Baal, and you can't object to beliefs about Baal. This is just stupid reasoning, and I think this is all they have. I think they're only like it's just nope. This is what the word means, so you have to say this is the true God. Very, very strange stuff.
So the First Kings 18 reference, 27 is verse 27. It's just going to use an indefinite article there. What was the one you said in Greek uses the definite article?
Oh, so in Philippians 3, Paul says their God is their belly. So I usually so it's 3:19. I always remember by chapter instead of verse.
Okay, let's pull it up real quick. But like this is an instance where, like when we're speaking in English and we say Allah, we're not speaking like we're not changing like we're not speaking in Arabic, we're speaking English. So if two people are speaking to each other in Arabic and you just say Allah, 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 you're saying God, God, God. But if you're saying Allah in English, you're referring to the God of Islam. Unless you're saying like, oh yeah, the word Allah is translated from, in our Bibles, or let's say you say God in Arabic. But 99% of the time, the referent is the God of Islam. So it's Philippians 3:19.
In any case, I'm sure there is an occurrence in Scripture where it would translate it in a definite way when it's not referring to the true God. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a good translation. There's just no way to do, because in Hebrew it does use Elohim to refer to false gods, right? And Hatheos. Another classic example would be 2 Corinthians 4:4, which most people think is a reference to Satan, the god of this age. It's Hatheos in the Greek.
So, according to their reasoning, Satan is the true God. Interesting. Okay. All right, here we go.
Allah, right, is another word for God.
That's actually the opposite of what I said, which is why I introduced this prompt the way that I did.
Okay.
I know that the word Allah means God. I don't believe that the Allah of Islam is God, because he wants people to sin. And at the beginning of this conversation, we all agreed that God is pure, holy, righteous, that he wouldn't want us to sin. And I asked you guys, who wants you to sin? And you guys said Shaitan, and we all agreed on that. So that's why I'm asking.
Okay, so some might disagree with me on this, but you said sin. And yes, Shaitan. But we have to look, as human people, we sin.
Absolutely.
So I don't feel like it's like a Shaitan thing, or somebody that makes you want to sin. It's just some people just like to sin. They say we sin every day. I don't believe that everybody sins every day. I don't sin. Personally, I don't sin every day. I sit at home, watch TV, eat, go to work when I want to. So that was just my take on it.
So, guys, I think what you're saying here, there is a point to it. I think it's along the lines of you don't need Satan right now to sin. You just sin. It's not that Satan or God has to be making you sin right now. You could just have a sin nature, some would say, and then you can just can commit sins and so on. But it has nothing to do with Christina's argument. The argument is, who wants you to sin? They agreed, nope, God doesn't want you to sin, but they agreed Satan does want you to sin, and then you find out Allah wants you to sin. So if you already agree that God doesn't want you to sin, but Satan does, who does Allah sound more like?
Yeah. By the way, it's a very low view of sin that she has as well. she thinks that sin is just like,
I just sit around eating nachos all day watching TV, and I'm not sinning at all.
Yeah.
Really not having any sort of impure thought or anything like that.
Most of our sin is
or being lazy,
or just being lazy and not accomplishing something when you could, when you're sitting around.
Yeah, but the other thing is, it's interesting just to see how easily people are distracted. So she's distracted, but she's saying something that, as you pointed out, is true. You can make this observation that you can sin without Satan's involvement. You have sinful desires that could account for the sin. But so she's saying something, and she's over here thinking, this is just true, right? This is, how can anybody disagree with me here? And then you've got the other, I thought it looked like the other Muslimas that were sitting over to the side when they had panned away. It looked like some of them are nodding in agreement, like, yeah, she's got a great point. It's like nobody notices, it's just not on point, right? It's like, so people are easily distracted. That's one reason why when you have a conversation, it's kind of difficult when there's a lot of people, because you can't, when there's multiple people, there's multiple distractions. You've got people aiding and abetting each other, sort of diverting the discussion, right?
Yeah, and that's the weird thing. It's like, Christina laid out a very clear argument. It did not take long to state, and she preempted the language issue by saying, I agree on what the word Allah means, but here we have an issue. Is there evil in God? No. Does God want us to sin? No. Who really wants us to sin? Shaitan. Okay. Hadiths about Allah say that he wants us to sin and he threatens to destroy us. He threatens to destroy us if we don't sin. In fact, you could even push this further than happens here. You can push this further that if Allah wants us to sin, and he threatens us with destruction if we don't sin, then by tempting human beings to sin and convincing us to sin at the beginning, Satan actually saved us. Because if we hadn't sinned, if Adam and Eve hadn't sinned, Allah would have said, I'm done with these guys, I'm just destroying them all. And so by tempting human beings to sin and human beings then going on to sin, Satan became our savior. He saved us from being annihilated by Allah, who wants us to sin. So Allah wants us to sin. Shaitan saved us from destruction, and he is our actual savior according to Islam. This is bad, guys. I mean, this really seems like Satan giving revelations and then saying, oh, this is how you serve God. Yeah, for those of you who want to serve God, here's a religion for you. You're serving God. But he can't help bragging the entire time and making himself the true hero in Islam. This is wild stuff, guys.
You know, it occurs to me there's another possible application here. There are numerous times reflected in the Quran when Muhammad doesn't do something and we would recognize that under all normal circumstances as something wrong. But then Allah comes along and he says, oh, no, Muhammad, go ahead and do this, right? You're denying this to yourself, but this is good for you, right? This is something that I have chosen for you. So it's as if Allah wants Muhammad to make the more reprehensible choice. Muhammad seems at first mind. Now, I think what's really going on here is Muhammad wants to do something evil, and he's bringing in Allah as his co-signer, right? Allah suddenly is giving a revelation so that Muhammad can now justifiably do what he wants. But if we approach it from this angle, where Allah in the Hadith is saying, if you didn't sin, then, or Muhammad is saying about Allah that he would sweep you out of existence if you didn't sin, well then it lends support to the idea that maybe Allah is trying to lead Muhammad down the path of sin so that after all, doesn't he stand out in the Hadith literature as the person whose sins were forgiven, his past and future sins? That's like Muhammad's claim to fame in the Hadith of intercession. The reason he stands out from all other people, it's really rather weird. So Adam was made with Allah's hands. Abraham's the friend of Allah. Moses spoke to Allah directly. Jesus is the word of Allah. These are things that cause these prophets to stand out. But then when it comes to Muhammad, he stands out because all of his past and future sins were forgiven. That's at least the way the Hadith reads it. So it's almost like Allah is leading Muhammad down the path of sin so that he could forgive him a lot, so that he could be really, really pleased with him, I guess.
Be really, really happy with him. But following that application, there's one more application, guys. Uh-oh. So if Allah really wants people to sin, because he just doesn't want people who don't sin, and he becomes really, really enraged at them enough to destroy them and sweep them out of existence, who, according to Allah, would be the worst person ever, his supreme enemy, his supreme nemesis? Who is the supreme nemesis of Allah?
Jesus.
The King
the
of
one
Kings
who
refused,
the one who refused to sin. Isn't that wild,
the one
guys?
Satan couldn't touch, yeah.
Yeah, guys, you look at this, and this is why, like, sometimes lots of stuff in Islam, it just looks like Muhammad's cooking up stuff, and he's getting stuff from the people around him. He's the ear. He's got his desires, giving him any revelations he wants. But other times, this looks like really, really demonic. God wants you to sin. Satan is your savior, and Jesus is the ultimate enemy of God. That looks like a false demonic religion put out by Satan to masquerade as the true religion in order to deceive as many people as possible. That's what it looks like. All right, let's check this out.
And So your prompt is very interesting.
I knew it would be.
It is very interesting because, I don't know if you grew up in America or not, but, we are access to, globalization. So we can see different languages, different words for Allah. Like for Allah in Arabic means God.
They're still on that. Hasn't that been every one so far? They go back to it? Like they have nothing
I don't
else.
think they're prepared for this.
No.
I don't think they're
No,
prepared
they
for
were- no,
theology.
they're not
I don't think
prepared.
they understand the theology that's going on here. I think the way that Islam is for them, it's a very kind of cultural, spiritual path for them, but they don't really understand the theology because I'm going to be very honest with you. Besides academics and I would say Christian apologists, most people don't even read the hadith because there's thousands and thousands of hadith. Like the way I learned about it was through like college, and like through other spaces. But most people don't know anything about the hadith, so they're just not prepared. Like and that just like before when Christina engaged with them on the other panel, they're not prepared for this. Like we talked about this before. Like, but for example, they said, "Is Islam violent?" And then the South Asian sister brought up Mansur al-Hallaj. I'm like, that actually shows that Muslims are violent because the Muslims killed Mansur al-Hallaj. Like, that's an important point. That's an important thing that you have to engage. And I don't know. I just think they're really out of their depth and they're not prepared for this. They just don't understand theology and they are not ready for this. So
It's pretty bad, pretty bad. And then it's right back to, but Allah means God, right? Yes, for the 75th time. Thank you.
Spanish, Dios. So, it just goes on. So I'm glad that you told us, the definition of what your prompt is. It was just, a little tricky.
Yeah, I mean, there's Arabic Christians, right? So they
Yeah.
say Allah and it's in their Bible. But that's why I wanted to make the distinction on what we're talking about because I know what the word means. But when we're talking about the character of the Creator and what He wants from us, why would the Creator rather have those who sin so they could seek His forgiveness and He would have mercy on them than have those who submit to Him in everything and never rebel against Him?
Well, that's what I got my thought back. But I'm trying to think of the best way to put it because there's two things. Number one, Allah is a better word than God. Why? Because Allah encompasses the 99 attributes of God. It's not just Allah is equal to God. No, it means that God is the
But she's the
supreme
one who-
being. It means that God is omnipresent and it addresses all 99.
Omnipresent.
Omnipresent.
Is Allah, Anthony, is Allah omnipresent?
Well, depends who you ask.
That's a
But
tough
two
question.
things-
Hey, Anthony, is Allah in the bathroom when you're going to the bathroom?
Well, no, not according to Salafi Muslims, at least.
And they can't figure it out. They can't figure out what
Yeah,
Allah is.
but remember, so they were saying in the Trinity discussion, the word Trinity is not in the Bible. So where does the Quran say the term Allah encompasses His 99 names or attributes or something like that?
Yeah.
Where does it give you any of this sort of thing, right? And then the other Muslim is going to say she's Quran only in a little bit. So if the Quran doesn't do it for another reason, you've got this problem. But yeah, so when you look at certain verses of the Quran, this emboldens certain Muslims to say Allah is not omnipresent. And they would say it's kufr to say that He is, that He's in this dunya, in this world. And so among them, they would point to those verses that talk about the istiwa of Allah, his being mounted on the throne, as it were, so that He is not here, He's up above. And when they say up above, they don't just mean that He transcends creation in the sense of not being constrained by creaturely categories and so forth. They're saying He's literally really far out there, right? There's 7 earths, and then there's 7 heavens, and then atop the 7 heavens there's a throne borne up by 8 weird-looking angels, and then Allah's sitting on top of that, and He's looking way down. And so,
And he has to travel. He has to travel down in order to hear our prayers. So He's not already here. He has to travel down.
Yeah. Now, you do get a lot of stuff that is problematic for this, but that's the name of the game, right? So I don't know where she's getting omnipresence as just a given, but sometimes when it talks about Him being present, it still seems to have a localized idea, right? Like Allah on the right side of Mount Tur. In Surah 19, Surah 20, 27, and 28, those 4 surahs all mention Allah speaking to Moses from the right side of the mountain. So it seems like he's in a place. What do you do with that? And different Muslims do different things with that, right? But then you have verses where it talks about Allah being closer to a person than their jugular vein. And, that doesn't sound very nice, first of all. I don't think that's supposed to be a comfort.
Right, he's right at your throat.
Yeah. But, I remember it was really funny. There's a Hanafi scholar, can't think, Mumtaz. Anyways, he once is responding to this idea that Allah can't be here because if he were here everywhere, omnipresent, then it would mean that he's watching you while you're in the bathroom, right? This is what some Muslims will say. How could Allah possibly be there in the bathroom while you're going to the bathroom, or in the brothel while people are engaging in illicit sexual acts like Muhammad Hijab or the Watcher or something like that, right?
Good point.
Is Allah actually there watching this? And so they say, oh, this is just beneath Allah, right? But then this Hanafi scholar, he points out, he's like, well, but don't you say that Allah's vision is here? Somehow Allah's not here, but his vision is here, right? So this is what I call the great divorce. You've got Allah up there above the 7 heavens, but somehow his vision is present. So his vision is running around on earth. Other attributes are doing their own thing, while Allah's way up there not getting sullied by the things of this world. But he's like, so you're saying that Allah's not here, but he's watching these people do it? He says, so aren't they in his vision? So he's just really mocking and ridiculing it. It looks really, really funny. But anyways, yeah, I would say there's a lot of problems. It's not an automatic given. And I think at the end of the day, she's got a lot of work to do to try and prove Allah is omnipresent.
TK here said something I was thinking when she said it, because they're like, Allah means God, Allah means God, Allah means God. And then all of a sudden, but Allah encompasses so much more. It's like, oh, okay. So it's not just a straightforward translation, right? So Allah is more than all of that because it encompasses so much more. Why? Because you said it. All right.
Attributes of God. So that's also why we say Allah, it's more proper, right? So we can casually, like in the church, for example, we use things like sister and brother, but we get comfortable and we get lax and we don't say sister or brother. But those principles are there in place to remind us of how to relate to each other. So that is when we say Allah, because we use it interchangeably, it's also translated into the Holy Quran as God, but we use it interchangeably because one is more lax than the other. Right, and it's the same in all throughout all different types of translations, right? But that's why
this is like the perfect arguments. Well, it's also the perfect culmination of, in Islam, they think a refutation is you saying words.
Yeah.
When any objection is raised, you say words. As long as words come out of your mouth, it doesn't matter if they have anything to do with the topic or if anything is coherent or if anything is correct. As long as you said words, you're doing a bang-up job. And so, guys, we're hearing words, just not any words that have anything to do with what Christina was asking. Let's see.
We use Allah. It's more proper because of that reason.
Yes, but it matters what we mean when we say God, right?
Right. I wanted to address one thing about about the hadith.
Yes.
Number one, the hadith is from scholarships. It's something that's been passed down.
Lady beside her is nodding her head vigorously in agreement. That's right. It's from scholarships. Let's see.
The hadith.
Yes.
Number one, the hadith is from scholarships. It's something that's been passed down, right? And even as Muslims, to your point, the sects, all Muslims don't believe in the same creeds from different hadiths, right? So that one in particular.
Wait a minute. Remember, back to the earlier debate, the earlier prompt on Allah. It's all simple. Yeah. 5-year-old could get it. Now, apparently, they don't all agree because it's not all that simple. And there's a bunch of grown-up 5-year-olds that have problems with what other Muslims are saying.
Yeah.
And I'm
So
pretty sure she was the one that was specifically saying, she's the one who said, like, you have the Seventh-day Adventists and you have the Mormons, you have the Unitarians. And
yeah, you
so
have all
that
you
was
have all
her.
this disagreement. So God is not the author of confusion. So
Yeah,
this not from
yeah.
God in here. Well, different Muslims believe in different sources, and some reject them altogether, and so we're all confused. And so you can't use anything in an argument.
Wow. What's crazy is like this was the same day. Like for us, it's like, oh, this is the next day. But this was like she was saying this like moments apart in like the same recording.
This is wild stuff. So guys, keep in mind, if they point out that there are different groups of Christians and some heretical groups of Christians, that's a huge problem for Christianity and shows that Christianity is somehow incoherent or something like that. But then when someone raises an objection against Christianity, Muslims not being able to agree on anything is somehow a defense. Well, we don't agree on anything, therefore you have nothing to attack, because anything you attack, we've got other Muslims who believe something else, and therefore you can't attack it. Very interesting.
Right? And even as Muslims, to your point, the sects, all Muslims don't believe in the same creeds from different hadiths, right? So that one in particular, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not familiar with it, but I am familiar with this, and that is Jesus talks about him, or according to Christians, right? He talks about them dying for the sins of the people, right? So he died for the sins of Christians, yet he was rose again, right? His life
But he
came
didn't
back,
cause us
right?
to-
But then why is there a judgment if he already died for the sins of the people, right? Why?
Wait.
You guys, are you guys getting this? Huh?
No. I don't understand her law. I'll try to do my best to try to see what she's saying here, but this is not analogous because, yes, he died for our sins, but he didn't cause us to. Those sins that we committed were not caused by God, and then he's like dying for the sins that he caused us to do. Then she might have something there, like if God's causing us to sin and then dies for our sins that he caused us to do in the first place. But what she's saying is that that Jesus died for our sins and then he's still going to judge us at the end. Like I'm trying. I don't know what she's saying exactly, but
Well,
like she
even
lost
the
me at
Hadith
the.
isn't, yeah, it isn't talking about causation, like Allah causing it. It's more like Allah creates people. He wants them to do something, and if they don't, like a crybaby, he destroys everything and starts over.
Yeah, like a kid
Right? It's
starting
like-
building with Legos and then just smashing it all and starting over again.
Yeah, until they
what
do the
she's
wrong
saying
thing.
is that okay, so in your religion, your God comes
It's
and
a good
dies
thing
for
because
you,
Jesus-
but in our religion, he just kills everybody. So you see,
I
instead
was
of
kinda-
like
My thought is it's kind of like this. Like she's saying, well, in the Hadith it says he'll start over from scratch so that he can forgive people, and then she's like, well, in Christianity you've got this thing that wouldn't happen. I don't know, maybe I'm trying to help her out way too much here, but it's like you wouldn't have this great reality of the cross of Christ dying for your sins if you had not sinned, in which case isn't that the kind of the same thing? I don't know. That's my best. I might
like
be giving her
lambs
too much
slain before
credit.
the.
Yeah, let's see.
You know, no sin, no cross.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see.
Him, or according to Christians, right? He talks about them dying for the sins of the people, right? So he died for the sins of Christians, yet he was rose again, right? His life came back, right?
Glad you agree that Jesus rose again.
But then why is there a judgment if he already died for the sins of the people, right? Why is there something that...
You are tempting me because I would love to.
I think we may be giving her way too much
yeah,
credit here. We're
you're-
trying to make a coherent theological objection. It just sounds like she's just randomly bringing up, hey, if Jesus died for sins, why is there still a future judgment? He already paid the price for sins. Huh? Explain that. That's what it sounds like.
David is very mean to Muslims.
I'm thinking in Christina's mind, she's thinking like of the hadith that I think she brought it up last time, where it's that the Jews and Christians are going to be taking on the sins of the Jews and Christians are going to be taking on the sins of the Muslims. I believe she brought that up last time. So I think that she's thinking of that because but I don't know. But I think she's going to stop herself from bringing it up here because she wants to stay on topic. But yeah, she definitely wasn't saying what we thought she was saying. She's
Yeah, we were giving her too much credit and thinking we're trying to make it coherent, and now I'm thinking there was just no coherence at all. She just brought up something that was loosely connected to sin, and then
Oh.
try to flip it back on Christianity.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was thinking the last one was about what was the last thing that? Remember the last thing that when it was the 4 before when it was Christina, she brought up like, was it the one where predestining the children to like it was the one about Muhammad saying like per se Aisha, it could be the other way around. The child could have gone to hell instead. Okay, that was the thing. Never mind. It wasn't the one about the Jews and the
Was that
Christians dying for the sins of the.
Was that in an earlier prompt, the last one?
It was no, it was in like the last time she was on this this debate, like last
okay.
year or something. Yeah, because anyway, I think because she's saying I could respond to you here, but I don't want to, so I'm trying to think where she was going to go with that.
Yeah. So, yeah, like. I mentioned this. When was it? The first one where? Oh yeah, it was that first. It was yesterday when we were going through the first section, and she went on this tirade about Constantine inventing the word Trinity. It was like everything was complete nonsense, like factually false. And Christina didn't fall for it. She just goes, "Not the topic," and brings it right back to the topic. She was like,
Yeah.
"Get over here." Anyway, all right, let's see.
Of Christians, yet he was rose again, right? His life came back, right? But then why is there a judgment if he already died for the sins of the people, right? Why is there something that
You are tempting me because I would love to talk about that, but that's not our prompt.
No.
You catch that, guys?
How many times is this? We should have a counter. We should have a counter for how many times she has to remind them. And I think many times she's just letting it go for a minute, right? She's being
She
very
lets it go because she's like, okay, let's see if they have any incoherent. I mean, let's see if she has any coherent point. She lets them go, and nope, they're just talking over and over and over again, never addressing it, and so got to remind them.
What is that noise?
That's get over.
That's from
here.
Mortal
That's
Kombat,
Scorpion.
man.
But where's it coming from?
I just I put it on my little sound thing here, man.
Okay.
This guy had this arm that would shoot out, and he would grab him and he would pull him in, and he'd go, "Get over here!"
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Christina mentioned that the host really doesn't like when they interrupt each other, so you really have to like let the other person finish and stuff like that.
All right, that makes sense. Okay, so you're really tempting me to respond to all the idiotic nonsense you're spouting, but not the topic. Sorry, honey.
Because the prompt is talking about
Allah being God.
no, because the prompt is not according to the prophet,
Your
not
camera
God.
went out, David.
So
I know I'm not
again,
blind.
Okay.
We're talking about in this hadith,
Quit
and I
worrying
want to
about my
touch on
camera all
what
the
you
time.
said about Jesus dying for sins so bad, but I also want to stay focused.
Okay.
So, in this prompt, I'm going to give you guys an example. Let's say I have two sons, right? And they live in my house, and I have one son who obeys everything that I tell him to do. And I have another son who's completely rebellious and a wild child. And I kick the son who does everything I tell him to do out of the house. What does that mean I prefer?
Now this is where things really
that
go off
favoritism,
topic.
or
Like they have no clue why she brought this. It's almost like they forgot that this is to be sort of illustrative of her prior point. Like they think it's almost like they think there's a new discussion now. Right? I mean, I don't know how long this goes on, but they're completely off.
Yeah.
This reminds me of in the next section. To say one thing, I don't want to spoil it or anything like that, but she kind of asked them like what their definition of corruption is, and like the context is in like Quran preservation and things like that, and one of them starts going on about like morally corrupt instead of like textually like moral corruption. Like this is what moral corruption is. It's like, wait, are we having the same conversation?
Yeah. So let's remind people what's happening. So the Christina brought up the hadith where Allah says Muhammad says that if people didn't sin, Allah would sweep them out of existence and bring another people into being who would sin, and then he would pardon them. So this, according to Christina, means that Allah has a predilection for sin. He wants people to sin. He likes it. It's a good thing. More of that. And so she wants them to account for this. And they agreed prior to that the one who wants people to sin is Satan. So she's trying to get them to bring these two things together. Now she's illustrating it. She's saying, suppose there's a parent
She's
with
like,
two children.
Yeah.
One's good, one's bad. The one who's good gets kicked out like he's being punished for something. And the other one gets to stay at home without any repercussions or anything else. So this is incredible to me.
Yeah,
It's like,
I want to
guys.
Yeah, I want to rewind it. We'll take some super chats real quick because we got a few. But I want to rewind it. Let's play that again. So, guys, she raised the objection. They clearly don't understand it because they just keep talking about everything else. So she's like, okay, I need to give an example so that they understand. Then she gives it that example. Okay, if I have two kids, one obeys everything I say and one just rebels against everything I say, and I say, you, one who do everything I say, get out of here, and I cast the kid out. And the one who just rebels against everything I say, oh, I like you. What would that mean about me? And they still don't get it. She has to continue trying to get them to understand it.
I think it's favoritism. Is that what it is?
Yeah, you would say you favor, but they keep interpreting it like
no. That's what she said. That's what she said. She was trying to like piece it together. Like what are you getting at? And she's like,
I think they sort of switch into like domestic mode. Like they're thinking, like they're forgetting the context of this, that we're asking about Allah and his character, and they just think, well, what do you do if a child's being disobedient? How do you handle that situation?
But they also
that child needs more attention.
They also start thinking of reasons like, oh, you're cast out the one who does everything right because he's going to be fine on his own because he always does everything right. So you can cast him out. The problem child, you got a lot of work to do on him. So that's why you want to keep him home. She's like, that's not what I'm saying, guys.
So Christina just randomly just brings up like a thought experiment in the middle of the prompt, and like it's completely off topic, and that's what she's getting. I mean, that's what they think is really going on. Like this is wow.
Another way to set this up as an illustration might be to say something like, suppose you've got two children and you've got a large estate and one's bad, one's good, and you decide to give everything to the bad one and none to the good one, and basically disinherit, disown, and so forth. Because they're getting confused here on to the point of the analogy. Yeah, because it can't be that they.
To make it clearer, you could say, okay, and just to make it clear, where you're not thinking, oh, well, the one who always does right, he's going to be good on his own because he's such a good kid, so he'll be fine. I can kick him out; he'll be good. You could change a little example. Say, okay, you've got two kids. And one of them does everything right. The other does everything wrong. And so you shoot the kid who does everything right. It's just, I can't stand this kid. Boom, you blow his brains out. What would that mean?
That'd be more like Allah.
Yeah, that would be really like Allah there. Let's see here. What are your thoughts on what aliens really are? How would I know?
Well, I think to make this more relevant to this channel, it would be, what do you think orbs are?
Oh, yeah.
Are they going to say Zut? I was going to say Zut.
What do you think orbs are? Are they a confirmation that everything this person...
Yeah. So anyway, you've got people. You got multiple issues. One, are there aliens? So life forms from other places. Then two, have they visited us? Three, when you see videos of UFOs, are those actually aliens who visited us, or are they other things? Are they weird government experiments, or are they something demonic and so on? And I wouldn't know. Not something I've been terribly interested in. Anyone else have any thoughts on that?
I would say I've always thought it. Oh,
no, you ahead.
I've always thought it. There were some pretty interesting potential problems to this that have been raised by different people. So, for example, the issues with the ability to traverse space and the time that would take, and other factors involved. There are complicating factors, even apart from any kind of religious considerations and so forth. So there's that sort of thing. But one other thing, and this doesn't exactly answer the person's questions, but I think it's always been interesting to me that we have something like SETI, where we're trying to discern if there's life out there, and the assumption is we could recognize intelligence if there was any kind of message sent to us. Right. But the sorts of things they're looking for that would constitute evidence of alien life out there, they can see all around them. When you look at the cell or other things, but they don't say, "Oh, look." In other words, how would they know what information looks like that proves that a intelligent life is behind this? But they could see that very thing in the cells. But you got people like Dawkins. I wouldn't believe even if the stars lined up and said, "Made
Richard,
by God."
believe in me. They even said specifically to him, Richard Dawkins, believe in me and stuff. Yeah, I mean, since Anthony took it in a different direction, I'll go ahead and point out, like, even when I was an atheist, by the time I was like in high school and an atheist, I didn't believe that aliens exist anywhere, especially that they didn't make it to us. And it wasn't just like I understand, like most people are like, oh, but there's so many stars out there and so many planets, there has to be life out there. It was after I took high school biology and I realized how complicated life is and what a sophisticated molecule DNA is. And I was just thinking, if this happened one time by chance, it is not happening anywhere else. It's too improbable. So I was like, yeah, of course, you may have other planets out there that could sustain life. I don't believe you're going to get life. It's too massively improbable. You need all these different parts and so on. Then you have to be wrapped in some sort of cell membrane or something like that, cell membrane to actually make a living cell. And then it has to, let me put it this way, because people don't understand like the serious problem here. You have, in order for some sort of evolutionary process to start, you need to start with something simple, right? You don't start with something like extraordinarily sophisticated and complicated. The idea is you need to start with something simple that could happen by chance. But once you get it going, then, it can operate by other things like natural selection and so on, which isn't simply chance, right? But think about what you need at the very beginning for some sort of evolutionary process to even get started, right? So you need life, you need something with a metabolism and so on, but it needs to have some very specific features. One, when it forms, it has to be able to make copies of itself. That by itself is amazing, right? Like because you could form something that has a metabolism that eats and stuff like this, but then it just dies. You could have life form and then it would just die later on, right? If it doesn't make copies of itself. So anyway, the idea is when this first living cell forms, it has to already have the ability to make copies of itself. That's already amazing. I mean, imagine like this, by the way, this MacBook isn't anywhere near as complicated as like a living cell. But imagine like this, like MacBook forms by some natural process, but it also has the ability to self-replicate and makes copies of itself. Okay, that would be pretty astounding, right? So you need whenever life forms, it can't just be life that forms, it eats a little bit and then dies or something like that. And then you deal with the issue of like, what's it eating, right? Because most of what we eat is already organic stuff. But anyway, it has to form and it has to already have the ability to make copies of itself. Two, it has to be very good at making copies of itself. It can't make copies that are wildly different from itself, or it's not going to preserve any of the good features. It's going to be some broken, messed up thing. So it has to be pretty darn good, right? But it can't make exact copies of itself, because if it made exact copies of itself, you'd never get variation and you wouldn't have anything for natural selection to act on, and you could never have changes and so on. So you need all of that in the very first thing that forms by chance. It needs to make copies of itself. It needs to make pretty accurate copies of itself, but they can't be exact because you need variation in order to get evolution going and stuff. So anyway, the idea, and with the complexity of the molecules and so on that would be needed to make this sort of thing, it's like, all right, it happened here, but I don't believe it happened anywhere else in the universe. And if you want to show me that it did, by all means, show me that it did. I'd have to have really good evidence for it. I'm not just, oh, but it's a big universe. It doesn't work like that. Found out later, by the way, you can actually do the mathematics on this, right? So scientists do what are called knockout experiments, where they take the simplest known life, right? They take the simplest known life. It's a little bacterium, the simplest known life. But then they do knockout experiments to say, if we knock out parts of this genetic code, how many of these things can we knock out and this thing can still function and still be alive? And so they're doing that to see, can we make it simpler and simpler and eventually get to the simplest thing that we can actually call life. and I forget what the number is. It's like a couple hundred average medium length proteins in order for this thing to function. You can actually do the math and be as generous as possible on this issue, right? And so you say, what's the maximum amount of time for particles to interact and form something like this? Well, you've got the entire number of seconds. You just say, here's us now, all the way back to the Big Bang, 13.7 billion years or so. How many seconds is that? And you add up, you get the total number of seconds since the beginning of the universe. You multiply that by the number of particles in the entire universe, right? So you just say, okay, there's around 10 to the 80th power of particles. You're talking atoms in the entire universe, or even subatomic particles. About 10 to the 80th power particles in the universe. That's the total number of particles you're working with. And then you say, okay, what's the fastest these particles could be interacting with each other? Well, you've got the upper limit as the speed of light. Right? So you take the total number of particles in the universe and say, I'll grant you the total number of particles in the universe are interacting with each other at the speed of light every second for the entire duration of the universe. That would be your sort of, you would have exhausted your probabilistic resources, right? Here's the thing. When you just do the math and you say, here is the total number of possible particle interactions since the beginning of the universe, going with the entire duration of the universe and all the particles and all interacting at the speed of light. Guess what? You do the math, you are not even close to getting one medium-length protein by chance, not one. You need hundreds of them for the simplest thing we know of as life. And it's like, okay, again, I don't believe that's happening again. It happened here, but it's not happening again. Anyway, so that's what, I didn't know about I didn't know about that part. I read about that after I became a Christian. But the other stuff, just the formation of life and stuff like that. Yep, I concluded it happened here. It was a weird fluke, didn't happen anywhere else. And then when I was in jail, I actually started thinking, no, I don't think it happened here either by chance. I don't think it happened even here by chance. And so anyway, then I started believing in design. So
yeah, there's some other, just real quickly, some funny stuff like, so my mom used to work at Area 51 outside of Vegas, because I lived there for like 20 years. My mom worked at the test site, and that doesn't mean I have any
I thought we were about to get some straight dope here. Your mom came home. Oh man, you should see this alien we were working on today.
No, but anyways, you always hear people talking about Area 51 or Roswell or other things, and spacecrafts that have crashed, and our government has the vehicle. You think about it, a being that's sophisticated enough to construct an aircraft, a spacecraft that could traverse galaxies and get here, and then it crashes in a cornfield where
that was the exact same thing that happened, because kids were always talking, what about aliens and blah blah blah. I was like, you saw a bunch of stupid movies, there are no aliens. They're like, what, it's such a big universe and blah blah blah, and there have been sightings and stuff like that. I go, okay, so okay, all right, what's the closest star? Alpha Centauri. Suppose there's life there, and they have to travel light years to get here, and they have the technology, so they must be way more advanced than us. And then they travel all the way here, and then they go cut circles in some redneck's field. That's what they do. Are you kidding me? So, yeah, there's that. And that's why I said at the beginning, like, even separate from the issue of whether they've actually gotten here. With all of that said, I believe God can create. I don't have any reason to think that God created all sorts of other life forms in other parts of the universe, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he did. It's like the universe. This just came up recently. Like, do you believe in a multiverse? Like, no, I don't. I believe in the universe we have. But for all I know, God could create other universes if he wanted. You have an omnipotent creator. He can do all kinds of things. But so anyway, those are my thoughts on that.
There's also a weird psychological angle with this as well. People who claim to have alien encounters, by and large, say that as well, that it's some sort of like sexual thing that happened to them.
I was probed in my butt. Yeah, that's the other theory of the night of Al-Zut. It was aliens and they probed Muhammad's butt.
Hey, so I'll bet you Eric von Daniken, if he saw and knew about the Al-Zut story, would have included Eric von Daniken. For those that don't know, he was a guy who popularized the idea that aliens have visited our planet, and this can be found evidenced in, among other things, religious texts. So when
Like Daniel, wheel in the
like,
sky.
Ezekiel. Well, that one's popular. In fact, my favorite example
Ezekiel.
of somebody who bought into this is Farrakhan, right? Calypso Louis. He says that Ezekiel is describing the mothership because it mentions wheels with eyes all around. Mm-hmm. So he says this is people looking out the windows of the spacecraft, and then he says there's the mothership's out there, and he says it follows me everywhere I go. Yeah, so, anyways, he anticipated the Avengers, right? The mothership, and I guess all we got to do to take out Farrakhan's gods is take out the mothership.
As you were saying it, I was thinking, I was putting this all together, and so these aliens exist on some other, on some other planet, going around some other star. They travel all the way here, and then they go out into a redneck's field and start probing goats. And I was thinking, this is the proof that Islam is the religion even of aliens. Oh, that's why they show up and go for the goats. Anyway, what are you saying, Jeff?
So I think that if there are encounters out there, that I think is just demonic activities and demonic experiences, a demon kind of manifesting, and maybe in what people think aliens look like or something like that. I think it's demonic if it's real at all. But there definitely are demons out there. I'm saying the alien encounters, though, if those have any credibility, then I would say they're demonic.
Yeah, so as far as like when you see something that is unidentified, something weird moving around, my first inclination would be it's some sort of government. One, it could be fake, right? It could be fake. It could be someone putting on a hoax to make it look like an alien. And we know this sort of thing happens. I mean, like the famous picture of the Loch Ness Monster, guys admitted a couple decades later they did it. They took a little model submarine and stuff like this and, paper mache'd something on it and then took a picture and stuff. So anyway, you can fake that kind of thing. You could put on a Bigfoot costume and go, walk around and get a picture of it. So one, things can be faked. Two, you can have things that, government experiments and stuff that we're not told about, we don't know about. And they might have all sorts of technology that we're not aware of. So it could be that, could be demonic. And then of course it would also be possible that something is actual aliens, visiting us or something like that. But I'd have to see those first three options ruled out before I would start thinking that it's aliens. Anyway, that's all. That is the sum total of all my thoughts on the issue. Let's see. Yes, it is infinitely many solutions varied by integer numbers of revolutions. Only one solution in one unit circle. Talking about the mathematical example. Right? The fast Fourier transform exploits the infinite one-like nums in complex plane. They are roots of unity, but I, negative I, etc. aren't additive identities. Wrong. I'll prove you wrong. Islam is so respectful of Christians and Jews, they separate heads from shoulders. Madness. Yeah. We respect everyone. D. Wood, you did a video about how Allah wants people to sin so as to show his mercy. But Jesus shows us mercy but does not want us to sin. Weird. Not weird at all. Miss God Logic will be on with Imam Claus going over her thoughts and the video. Yep.
I think she'll be live with us tomorrow, too, on IB's channel.
Yeah, she's going to be live with us tomorrow. And probably Avery, too. Anyway, new Islamic dilemma possibly.
You guys are going to have to be on your behavior. Good behavior.
Yeah, no zoot joke. No, what are you talking? That's IP's channel. We can say all the zoot jokes we want. Oh, yeah, but we'll be around a woman. That's, kind of creepy. Yeah, you're right. We'll be on our really good behavior tomorrow. New Islamic dilemma possibly. If you don't sin, oh, that's a good one. New Islamic dilemma possibly. If you don't sin, you are sinning because Allah doesn't want you to not sin. But if you sin, then you are listening to Allah, so not sinning. So yeah, you could call that the Islam's sin dilemma or something like that. That'd be a good one. Does this verse contradict prophets being sinless? Well, I mean, keep in mind in Islam, and in the Quran, it's not that prophets are sinless. You have the idea that Jesus is sinless, that he's the one that Satan couldn't touch when he entered the world and stuff like that. But as far as other prophets being sinless, Adam sinned, right? Muhammad sinned. That's supposedly their main guy. Muhammad sinned like it was a sport, according to Muslim sources.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
But
if you're just going by the
think-
sources, yeah.
It'd be an
you
interesting
do have
thing
the
to
belief
trace
that
out.
what's up?
It'd be an interesting thing to trace out the genealogy of this idea that the prophets are sinless, because there's different ways Muslims will articulate this, and even with respect to Muhammad. But like you said, it's not there in the Quran. But what this kind of relates to, in my mind, is so Ibn Hazm is obviously the guy that really popularized the idea that the Bible is just corrupted and useless, right? Not that there weren't any precursors to him that anticipated some of this, but it's with Ibn Hazm that you get this in earnest. He's really behind this, but part of what he does to prosecute the idea that the Bible's been corrupted is he's the one who really turns on the heat with respect to the sinful behavior of people recorded in the Old Testament. That's one of his three primary arguments against the textual integrity of the Old Testament. He also brings up theological impossibilities and geographical and historical alleged errors. But the point is that, this assumes that the prophets can't sin, right? Or at least not in any significant ways. You have to do something like that to prosecute this argument. So I would imagine either just prior to his time or something like that, you began to get a greater emphasis on the sinlessness of prophets. But anyways, even in the Hadith of intercession, remember everybody's kicking the can down the street. Everybody's going to these prophets saying, you intercede for us with Allah. Adam says, don't come to me. My Lord is angrier today than I've ever seen him before, which seems to cast a lot of shade on the idea that Adam's sin wasn't such a big deal and Allah simply forgave him, right? Adam thinks Allah's extremely mad and he's afraid to go and try and talk to him for the other people. So they keep sending people away to Muhammad, and then Muhammad says he sinned a million times, but Allah forgave him all his sins. So no sinlessness there in those sources.
She is about to be live on One Way Apologetics reviewing this. Are we all going to watch? I love you, David, and the rest of the brothers. Much love. Well, anyone who wants to watch it there can watch it there. And again, Christine will be on with us tomorrow on IP's channel at 8 p.m. or whenever I'm finished with my debate with Andrew Wilson. We'll see. Let's see. Yellow Scarfed Woman gets the Kathy Newman Award. Oh, that one there. Oh, yeah. So you're saying, okay,
so
that's
funny.
Kathy Newman. That was the woman who debated Jordan Peterson. Everything he would say, she would go, so you're saying, it'll be something he didn't say, but yeah, she did so you're saying that you don't believe that other languages exist. It's like, wait, what? ISIS on Alive 44 in Mosque in Niger and 31 in Pakistan.
Whoa.
That's crazy. Please do a video on Satan being our savior in Islam. I actually did it, but only in the context of Christmas. I had a video called Islam's Secret Santa. So yeah, you can check that out. Satan as savior fits Gnostic teaching that the demiurge created slaves, so Sophia sent an archon to give the knowledge of good and evil to free us. Oh, interesting if you're actually like tying it into where Muhammad was getting stuff from. Now she is just cooking fish in the barrel. Yep, that's what I mean there, guys. This one is a massacre. This is like shooting fish in a barrel, taking candy from a baby, slam dunk, shooting sitting ducks, persuading Momo to come to the desert at night. Yep, all those super easy things. Muhammad's Boom Boom Room meets Joseph Smith. When? Not sure. Whenever we start recording Boom Boom Room episodes again. They seem nice, but this is just sad. Yeah, that's the thing. They do seem nice, but that is not helpful. David, we know the real reason for giving away the previous channel. It was that embarrassing Star Trek video. Your nerdy rant further reinforced our suspicions. I've said it 50 times, guys. You can study nerd stuff to be more effective in making fun of nerds. I'm 21 minutes behind. Kadesha was using the Chewbacca defense South Park reference. That's good. Aliens set up leering centers and trick you into giving them lots of money that goes offshore to fund their further jihad endeavors. That may be correct.
Different type of
Different
alien.
type, yeah. There's some weird hate between Christians online. I think Nordine might be right. By the way, binge watching Ash, Rabbinic Jews theology is so messy, not in the zoot sense. Oh, yeah, lots of...
Oh, I didn't know there was a whole abbreviation for that.
Oh,
there
yeah.
is, man.
Yeah.
Where have you
Nits.
been, man?
By the way, it's even on Urban Dictionary now. We know that Zut's on Urban Dictionary, but not in the Zut sense is on Urban Dictionary now. So
is
you've
correct.
arrived.
But Chewbacca, it doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, you must acquit. That was the argument. All right, guys, here we are back to this, and let's see. Oh, I wanted to back it up a little bit because
Do you
she
mind if I
gives.
make one quick comment?
Yes. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I was going to say about the sinless element.
Uh-huh.
We remember when we had our debate, we talked about that in the Surah Abasa, where it says he frowned and turned away. Would that be considered a sin?
Yep. In Islam, yeah, right? And he's told to seek forgiveness of sins.
There you go. Issa's now making arguments against Islam.
You see? Muhammad was the worst
I think
sinner
we
of
just
all
need to
time.
be honest and accountable. I think
Yeah.
we need honesty and accountability. That's my team. That's what I
Yeah.
believe it. So.
All right, so I backed it up because we want to hear Christina's example again. Again, everyone, if you tuned in late, the topic is whether Allah is God. She's arguing that Allah is not God. She gets the Muslim women to agree at the beginning that there's no evil in God. She gets the Muslim women to agree that God doesn't want us to sin, that Shaitan does want us to sin. And then she shows that in the Hadith, according to Muhammad, Allah wants us to sin and he threatens to destroy us if we don't sin. Then they go in every possible direction apart from actually addressing the issue. And so now she gives them an example to try and help them understand it. She does not succeed. Not because of her, because of some other reason. But let's see.
Again,
Okay.
we're talking about in this hadith, and I want to touch on what you said about Jesus dying for sins so bad, but I also want to stay focused.
Okay.
So, in this prompt, I'm going to give you guys an example. Let's say I have two sons, right? And they live in my house, and I have one son who obeys everything that I tell him to do. And I have another son who's completely rebellious and a wild child. And I kick the son who does everything I tell him to do out of the house. What does that mean I prefer?
Is that favoritism or you
Right. If one is obeying
Yep, that could be favoritism. You could just say, I like little Johnny, even though he's a terrible, terrible, terrible kid. But that's not the point she's trying to make here.
me and one is disobeying me, and I get rid of the one that's obeying me and keep the one that's disobeying me, what does that mean?
that you're trying to raise the one that's rebelling you, right? Or correct?
And I'm rejecting the one who obeyed me.
Yeah, because you might think that since he obeys everything you do, he'll be okay when he's out in the street, right?
Not necessarily.
Allah does.
They're kids. They're babies.
Allah
Oh,
just
no.
destroys them.
I have two toddlers. One is getting sent out because he does everything I tell him to do, and the other toddler gets to stay at home because he's bad.
Well, see, we're talking about something that is human, right?
Yeah.
Because we look at the situation of Cain and Abel, right? Cain worked in the field and gave God an offering that he thought was better than Abel's offering, which was a sheep. So when they presented the offerings, God accepted Abel's and rejected Cain's.
Right.
So when we're talking about, to your question, again, it's a little confusing because what we're dealing with
It's not
is an
confusing.
example of the imperfectness of humans. How can you discern what's in the heart but the Father?
Wait a minute.
Exactly.
This is classic, though. This is classic because she brings up Cain and Abel, right? So the original context of the question is Allah says he'd wipe out the human race if they don't sin. He wants them to sin, and then he wants them to ask forgiveness and so forth. So Allah wants a world of a bunch of sinners. That's his preference. That's what he likes. So she brings up an illustration to help. She says, what if you have a parent and there's a good child, a bad child, and the good child is treated poorly, disowned, disinherited, kicked out, exiled, and the other one is treated well. Well, what happens in the story of Cain and Abel? Cain is the evil one, and God kicks him out further, right? He drives him eastward. The whole point is Cain is actually driven by God further east, away from all of his, more righteous relatives and so forth.
Yeah, so that could have actually been used as the example. So imagine this. You think about the story of Cain and Abel, and imagine the story's a little different. Cain brings an offering that wasn't the best. Abel brings an offering that was pleasing to God. So God kills Abel, something like that. Or Cain kills Abel, and then God says, "Good job, because he brought me a really good offering, and I can't stand that. I like your subpar offering, so I'm going to reward you for doing a crap job." What would that mean? Because that should be the point, everyone, is that should be telling you something about God, if he prefers bad to good. And if you have a parent who rewards terrible behavior but punishes good behavior, what would that tell you about the parents? But let's see how long it takes them to get it. Let's see.
Humans, how can you discern what's in the heart but the Father?
Exactly.
So as a parent, right? As a parent, for you to say, well, if I accept the ones that's obedient and reject the one that's disobedient, then you're leaving that interpretation for a human and flawed person. God is not flawed in that way. So according to the hadith you're giving,
there we go.
We're talking about, you mentioned the hadith that's completely out of context. I don't know the context of the hadith.
It's not out of context. It doesn't give the context.
She said it's completely out of context. And she said, I don't know the context.
Yeah. Just note it. If you say something is out of context, guys, you're saying that if you read it with the context, it has a completely different meaning than when you rip it out of context. But then she says, I don't know the context. Well, how do you know it's out of context then? But no, it's not out of context. All you have is the hadith of Muhammad saying something. And there is no context you could give it that where it would mean something different. There's no, Muhammad was walking down a mountain and he said this, or Muhammad was at the Kaaba and he said this, or this person came from a distant land and hit Muhammad. And then Muhammad said in response, there's nothing you can say that changes the meaning of what's being said. Allah declares, according to Muhammad, that he wants you to sin and he'll destroy you if you don't. I would say the only way out of this is for like the Quran only Muslims or the people who don't trust the hadiths. That's the only way. That's the only way to avoid that. But let's see.
I don't know what the situation was. I don't know any of the background. And that's important when you're talking about, how does it apply or what do you believe? Mm-hmm. Because we don't all agree. I personally don't agree with all of the scholars and what their narration is. So
I'm going to jump in with that too, because when you're talking about Allah, I would expect that you would bring it from the Quran, not from a hadith, because personally, no offense to anyone, any of my sisters that do follow hadith, I don't. Unless it references the Quran and it is backed by the Quran, I'm not going to follow that.
Little side note, you guys do have some issues here. So one, without the hadith, you don't even know how the Quran is formed and stuff. You can't understand parts of the Quran without knowing what Allah is responding to. You find that sort of thing in the hadith. But then you've got the same people who are preserving the Quran all this time are the same people who are supposedly preserving these stories about Muhammad. So if they're just lying all the time and making these things up, what does that tell you about the Quran and so on? So there is a trade-off here. Yes, if you go Quran only and you say the hadith are garbage, you don't have to defend nearly as much in Islam. But it also means you can't know nearly as much about Islam or Muhammad and so on, or even the formation of the Quran, or what this stuff is responding to, or what some of these passages mean. So
yeah, and this is endless. So how do you know that these surahs, by and large, are addressing Muhammad? You don't get that from the Quran. His name is only mentioned 4 times. Mm-hmm. And that leaves a good bit of room for discussion on what's going on and who's being addressed here in the Quran. And then, all that ambiguity. My favorite example is Surah 17, which is usually taken to refer to Muhammad's night journey and his ascent. But all the Quran verse says is, blessed is he who took his servant by night from the nearest mosque to the farthest mosque. And then after saying very little after that, it suddenly starts talking about two destructions and the children of Israel and all that. The idea, even with the Hadith or the Tafsir filling in the details, it looks really awkward, right? The fit doesn't look very good. Anyways, but yeah, the Quran is a mishmash without the Hadith.
It's really bad, but let's see.
And I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for saying that, but I'm gonna be truthful. Like, I don't. So when you say it, I don't resonate with it because I don't know what it is. I haven't read that.
I just want to say something.
but
So
yeah.
the way that she's actually wearing hijab is actually more correct than most of the other Muslims, but she doesn't even believe in the Sunnah. So it's
where are
like
you
kind of
getting that
interesting.
from? Where are you getting that from?
Like, she's not showing any of her hair, which is proper. Whereas you can see her hair, you can see the one behind her hair, and her hair. So yeah, it'd be interesting to kind of like question her about that kind of stuff.
I mean, when we're talking about Allah being God, I mean, it's in the Quran. It's in the Bible. Like, in Aramaic, what did Jesus call God?
Okay, so
We're
you're
back to that again.
Hey, no. But in Aramaic,
Yeah.
Anthony, yeah. They always say that Jesus in Aramaic called him Allah, because they have that in Aramaic. It's like Ilaha or something like that, but they don't know. Yeah, they kind of look similar, but they have completely different derivations. In the Aramaic, it's the L at the beginning that's doing the work of telling you you're talking about God. The L. In Arabic, the Allah, the al at the beginning is just the definite article, and so these words are you're talking about completely different words and completely different derivations here that just happen to look a little similar. Yeah, silly.
I have a question.
Hey, what's up?
Do these women believe the Torah and the Injil and the Zabur are corrupt, or do they believe that they're?
We're gonna find that out tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll
because
find
then
out
you have some.
tomorrow.
You have that. That's the fourth prompt. But let's see.
Quran only.
Because I think that's
and
really dependent. Like, that's the dependent arc here. Why are you bringing up these things if you don't believe that they're real? Like, if they're real.
Well, and
Yeah.
I would also think just because they disagree on so much, I'm guessing some of them do respect the previous scriptures. Some of them probably think they're corrupt. I don't know, but yeah.
are all of you Quran only, or do some of you follow the Sunnah? Or?
We've read when we grew up in Islam. We read the Quran. I have read a few hadith. Hadith. Yeah,
So Hadith.
interesting.
Yeah.
But it's not for me.
Okay, so
Oh my goodness! Did you just say I read some hadith? It's not for
so
me. It's not for your Muslim. It's not for me. Oh my! Wow.
So she's done a little bit of scholarships, and
Sorry,
has
the way
some
David said
Hadith-
that, I was just
has some Hadith training or exposure, I should say. Wonder what Cora's doing over there while this is all happening.
Cora better
her
be
eye- her
fuming.
eyes are doing like.
I mean, guys, just imagine a situation where I'm like, oh, bring up Cora, because at least it will be more, it will be clearer and more coherent, and she'll have some idea of what people are talking about. Because, I mean, guys, think about this, because I keep saying this. These are hadiths from Sahih Muslim, one of their two most respected collections ever on what Muhammad said and did. Christina brings up, you have multiple hadiths on this in Sahih Muslim. Christina brings up the issue and no one's ever heard of it before. And some of them don't even believe in the hadiths. And those who believe in the hadiths, it's not for me, or they've never read it before. I keep saying, unless they hear this stuff from us, they'll never hear it. And they'll never have to think about this. And they'll never have to try and understand Islam, because their leaders filter things for them and decide, here's the information I want to give this person to keep this person in Islam, and to keep this person from doubting, and to keep this person from ever realizing that there are any issues in Islam. And they can only hear something from a Christian. What are you giggling at, Jai?
One of the comments said, "Can I have a hadith with a side dish of scholarships?"
Yeah, no,
Oh, yeah,
what's funny is I'll bet you he wrote scholarships, but it corrected it to scholarship. It
it
Oh
actually
no,
did. It was good.
no.
says
yeah.
scholarship, but I bet he was trying to write scholarships, and
Well, it's
it
even better. He
corrected
wrote
or
it as
something.
2 words with a side of
Okay.
scholarship.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. All right. Ready to get back to this? Let's see.
That woke me up. Oh, man,
Feel
that's
you
funny.
ladies, you're not familiar with this one, and that is perfectly fine because there's a whole lot of those, so that's fine. So I'm going to bring you a different one, but I'm
All
going to
right,
start
now's
with
a
a
different one.
different question. So
Look at
I
that
guess
smile.
I'll direct this
It's
at
the same as
you.
God logic. Oh my God.
Is God all powerful, and does he need help to do anything?
This is one that Avery uses a bunch. Interesting. So is God all powerful, and does he need help with anything? Let me back up just a little bit just so we all get it again.
So I'll direct this at you. Is God all powerful, and does he need help to do anything?
So yes, God, Allah is all powerful, and no, he does not need help with anything. Like, how would you describe what does God need help with? That
I got something for you.
Yeah, this is from the Quran.
So in
too.
chapter
That's funny. That's funny. No, God doesn't need any help.
Yeah.
But what do you got? What do you got there? What do you think he needs help with?
So this one's actually from the Quran.
Yep.
And so that none of them can escape this one.
Yeah. So guys. Any idea how brilliant this is right here? Like the progression. Okay. Do we agree that there's no evil in God? Yes, we all agree. Who wants us to sin? Who wants us to sin? Is it God? No, it's shaitan. Okay, why did Muhammad say that Allah wants us to sin and would destroy us, right? And then you get a bunch of like just complete gibberish that has no connection to anything. But then you get them basically throwing the hadith out. We don't believe in the hadith. And even if we do believe in the hadith, we don't really care, right? It's not an issue. So sorry, we don't even have to think about these. And then you get the context offense, which is, maybe in context it means something completely different. So they're just avoiding the hadith. And some of them, again, we don't believe in the hadith. So what does she do? She goes to the Quran. Oh, so we got some Quran only? No problem. Let's go to the Quran. And here she's going to the Quran. This is classic.
what does God need help with? That
I got something for you. So in chapter 6, verse 101, Allah says, how can I have a son? He says, I'm the originator of all things. How can I have a son if I don't have a companion? So what is Allah saying that he needs in order to have a son?
a woman, like
Right.
this is okay. So
Ready for some gibberish?
I don't want to like do like question with question, but I want to ask you, why do you think Jesus is, peace be upon him, is the Son of God, and why do you take the Son of God as God?
So I love that question. I will answer it even though it's a bit off prompt, but
Even this, guys, this is just brilliant. Every single time they've tried to go off topic, she's like, that's not the topic. Ooh, I would love to answer you. I'd love to answer you, but it's not our topic. Here, she diverts the topic to, wait, you believe Jesus is the Son of God. Christina answers it, and right when she started, I'm like, no, it was so great when you're not letting them bring up distractions and stuff. She responds to it because it strengthens her argument. It strengthens her arguments. And so she responded to this one in particular because she can use it to make the point more effectively. Brilliant stuff.
It's
Brilliant stuff.
very strategical, and yeah, that's the right move.
Yep. All right. Now watch this. Watch this.
And why do you take the Son of God as God?
so I love that question. I will answer it even though it's a bit off prompt, but so Jesus, we believe that Jesus is the begotten Son of God. So he proceeds from the Father. The Father doesn't need a companion to have the Son proceed from his divine essence. That's why I'm asking you this question, not even to be tricky. It's just that in Christianity, in the triune model, we see that the Son proceeds from the Father, and there's no sex required, there's no humanity required, there's no companion required. And so then, as a Christian Trinitarian, when I'm looking at the Quran and I see that Allah's response, because in context, there are pagans attributing sons and daughters to Allah. And his response is, how can I have a son if I don't have a mate? He doesn't say, oh, this is, this doesn't befit my majesty. He doesn't say, I don't want to, I don't have to. This is his response. I don't have a mate. And that shows dependency. So that's what I wanted to ask you about.
You guys get that? Right. So again, every time they try to change the subject, she doesn't let them. I mean, she might let them talk for a little bit and stuff like that, but that's your point. Not the topic. Let me bring you back to the topic. Here they change they bring up, they try to flip it to Christianity, and she goes with it to say, the father has the son. The father doesn't need a mate for the son. Doesn't need one. So he's independent. He doesn't need something outside of himself. But Allah, by contrast, says he would need something outside of himself. That would make him dependent, not independent. So you're not dealing with the real God, guys. You're not dealing with the real God. He's not omnipotent. He can't do something without help from someone else. So, ouch. My goodness, man.
Now, you have on the screen, I can't help, this is a distraction. I'm going to do a Christina here just for a moment. It's off prompt, but I just think it's interesting, it's relevant. So one of the Muslims said hadish, trying to refer to the hadith, and somebody says, I think she meant hashish. The reason this is interesting is that's actually a word of Arabic derivation. Right, so it's believed that the term assassin comes from the hashashim, right? Bernard Lewis, I remember reading this years ago.
They would get high. They would get
high on hashish and go out and kill people. So from the word hashashim, you get assassin in English.
What happened?
And also hashish.
Sorry about that. I lost sound.
Oh, all right.
No, it wasn't you guys. It was my end. I lost sound for a second.
All right. So that means Allah has limitation. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't show dependency. It shows independency. Because God is saying in that statement that he's not in need of his creation. And that's also why, for you and I, for example, if you get pregnant, nobody in this room, I don't care what scholars or theologians, they're going to believe that a Holy Ghost came and impregnated you. That's why
anybody would believe that.
No one would believe that. And I don't care what your denomination is, because God put in motion laws all throughout his creation. There's blades of grass, one male, one female, and they need each other to reproduce. But God is the only that is self-created. He is the only.
She said Allah is self-created. So he created himself one day.
Yeah. One day he wasn't there, and he decided, I'll create myself, so I am there.
That's weird. He can't create a son unless he has a mate, but he can create himself out of nothing before he existed. That's awesome. That is powerful.
Yeah, she's not tracking the argument, because she's bringing the opposite point that the verse actually says. It says the opposite of what she's saying.
Yeah, I mean,
this proves his independency. No, it actually proves the opposite.
And really, I mean, their time is almost up. So this is the end. Their time's almost up. But I mean, think about what she's saying there. If you became pregnant, no one's going to think you did that without a man. So she's saying, okay, we understand that you'd be dependent on someone else if you wanted to have a child. So what's she saying? That's how Allah is? So Allah would need to be the same thing? But you could go along with that, because she was clearly talking about like virgin birth and stuff. But that's sort of the contradiction in the Quran, when in their belief, the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary and says, you're gonna have a son. She says, how can I have a son when no man has touched me? And his response is not, well, you better find someone, because how can you have a son if you have no husband or no partner or something like that? He says, it's easy for Allah. So that's really weird. Mary can have a son without needing anyone else. It's just something miraculous. But Allah can't even perform the miracle without having a mate. That just, to me, that sounds like this is being invented in response to different things, and it just doesn't tie well together. But let's see.
But God is the only that is self-created. He is the only one that is independent. So he's saying, and sometimes, we talk sarcastically. We ask sarcastic questions, right? We ask rhetorical questions because it's like, if I'm telling you I'm God and I'm independent, then why would I tell you that I need what you need? I created you to be dependent on me, and I put these laws in motion so that I can create order, because order without law is chaos.
Gotcha. And I'll just say that's why I love that Khadijah asked me about the Trinity and that back and forth that we had, because again, in Christianity, God is able to have a son without a mate. It's not just a rhetorical statement that Allah is making right there, because they're asking him, they're saying, yeah, you have sons and daughters. And he says, how can I have a son if I don't have a mate? Not, I don't need to, or why would I need to? His response is directly dealing with ability. Because when we say can, we're talking about what we're able to do. And so in the Trinity, we see that God is able to proceed a son with no mate eternally. And in the Quran, we see that Allah says he needs a mate to do that.
So you said something about God being dependent on his creation. And I just want to say that's not true, because you say that you believe in a triune God. So that's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But in Islam, it's one. So I was reading through the Bible, and I was trying to read where it's explicitly it says that when Jesus died, peace be upon him, when Jesus died, and his soul, when he ascended to the heavens, where did it say that he became one with God?
I wish I could answer.
But it doesn't say that, because
He's always been one. He didn't become one with God. He is, by divine essence, one with God.
Nice.
Perfect time to clap.
Wow, 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 wow. Wow. And notice, guys, in both portions. So one was focusing on the issue of Allah wanting us to sin, but Christina got them to agree on everything she needed to reach a conclusion. She got them to agree to things beforehand. And then the only thing they could do is reject the hadith or say it must be out of context and so on. Guess what? It's not out of context. You can reject the hadith and so on, but that would just leave you with something like Quran only. Then she goes with the Quran. So for the second part, do you agree that God is omnipotent? Yes, God's omnipotent. He has all power. Do you think there's anything that, God would be dependent on other people for? Does he need help from other people? No, there's nothing like that. Okay, so the true God would not be dependent on someone else, but Allah says he's dependent on anyone else if he wanted to have a son. He can't do it. He can't do it without someone else. And we saw the responses. I'll let you guys decide. So, guys, I'm posting let's do a poll real quick. Who won the debate on whether Allah is the true God? Christina, a.k.a. Lady Logic, or Muslim women? You guys will decide who won the debate. Let's see. We'll let those go for a second. Take a couple comments and so on. Let's see. We'll take the remaining super chats while people vote.
I do have to say, no fault of Christina's, but that was underwhelming. A lot of distraction, confusion. In fact, going back to that one girl, confusion's not of God, right? So I don't know what's wrong with these Muslimas. They couldn't follow a simple question.
And it's weird because I'd actually like to hear an answer. I'd like to hear why do you believe that Allah wants you to sin? And the only answer I can even think of is that he needs human beings to sin so that he can be forgiving. And if he didn't have us, he wouldn't be forgiving. And that, I don't know, that attribute would be unused or something like that. So he just really, really needs to use that attribute or something like that. Interesting stuff. Well, let's see. More nerd stuff. Mike Winger fan here. I follow 15 Christian Apologetics YouTube channels. According to my count, there has been a combined 656 million views to all videos posted in those YouTube channels. Well, it's a good time for apologetics, so those numbers gonna go up. She read some hashish, more like sheesh. Quran says Allah can get a son from anything in creation, like a chair, for example. But since Allah needs a mate, doesn't Allah have to mate with it? If he wanted to, he'd have to mate with it. I remember this was way back in the day. Anthony, you'll remember. You remember Venom Fang X from back in the day?
Oh yeah, periodically he contacts me.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, he was back in the day, and he was a teenager, and he was making video. He's one of the OGs guys. He was before anyone else, but he was making videos, making fun of Islam. And I just remember he had like the most brutal mockery.
He comes home.
Yeah,
he's Allah.
Yeah. That's how it starts. He has a Batman costume on. And Batman comes through the door, and he's carrying a briefcase, and he steps through the door, and he goes, "Honey, I'm home. Oh wait, I have no partner." And then you hear the crowd go, "Oh." So anyway, but yeah, that's what this issue always reminds me of. But yeah, Venom Fang, because. I tell people they don't realize how good they have it now that there are like tons of people doing this. Back then, when only a few people are doing it, it allowed the jihadi-minded people to focus on certain individuals, and so they kept sending him threats. He kept doing it, but he does this like brilliant like claymation takedown of Muhammad, but he's wearing a Batman mask the whole time, playing Allah. And then you think, okay, this kid's safe. And anyway, at the end, he pulls off the mask and turns toward the camera and starts dancing. And I was like, oh, ouch. Anyway, they were threatening him. He kept at it. Then they started. Then they found out who his parents were, and they started calling his parents up at work, threatening them. And that's when he had to shut it down and so on. So anyway, that's what it was like back in the days with these guys going after you. And Malik's trying to bring all that back, going after families and stuff like that. Anyway, that's where we're at right now.
My question is, why not just make debate arguments and go to the debate? If you're going to the debate sphere, debate it. Like, this is just, I don't know. This is something I don't understand. Like, you go outside in people's life. Like, I don't know. It sounds crazy.
Yeah, things sound crazy to you, Issa, because you can't figure out why anyone is different from you, right? Does that never cross your mind? Issa's like, well, this wouldn't make any sense to me. Yeah, Issa, I keep saying it. You're not like everyone else.
I hear you. I was thinking like a standard normal human being would be like, yeah, they're debating, so I'm going to debate. I'm not going to actually go into their personal life. Also, it breaks social contract theory because if you go and violate other people's lives, then that opens up your life to be threatened. So I'm like, it seems just on a normal self-preservation level really idiotic and stupid. Just
Issa's like, why aren't these online jihadis from Pakistan who are sending out the threats? Why aren't they paying attention to social contract theory? Huh? We've got Islam's daddy dilemma. That's a good name. The daddy dilemma. Ali Dawa voice. You see, Allah can't do the deed. He needs my Viagra.
That's funny.
I only watch the lives for cutie cute Issa. Uh-oh. You got a fan, Issa. We've got Darren Dorsey argues Allah is a deadbeat dad. Yeah, Allah's like, and even if I did have a son, I would deny it because I don't want to pay child support. One Mahdi versus 12 Christian apologists next. That would be classic. And we have great work from Christina. Let's pray that she keeps up the good work and pray for the Muslimas she debated. I hope she gave them something to think about. Yeah, I mean, what you'd hope in that situation, Because, even when she's bringing up a hadith and it completely they already agreed that this would mean that Allah is not God or something like that. It should be a situation where even if they're not agreeing with her, hey, I'd have to see the context in that. You'd hope they go back and are thinking about this and maybe looking some things up. Are the Quran only Muslims thinking about, wait, we agreed that God would not depend on anything in his creation for anything. And yet Allah is saying he can't do something unless he had help. So what's going on there? And so, yeah, you'd like these women to start thinking about this, because especially the ones who converted at some point when they were younger, you can tell from what they're saying about Islam and what they're saying about Christianity, they were fed complete nonsense. And you'd hope they realize when they're coming into debate, they're thinking, oh yeah, I've been through this. Yeah, I've been, I got all the good stuff from the Dawah guys who converted me and stuff. So I'm ready to go against a well-prepared Christian. And then you find out, none of this works against a well-prepared Christian. Maybe that's because you were fed a lot of nonsense. So yeah, definitely want to pray for the women there.
You know what I think they should do on that show? They could just for let's say 3 out of 4 say we've never read that before. Just get an iPad or something and just let them read it real quick and then start through.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Just give them a couple minutes to read it or whatever, and then
or even like a little screen,
yeah.
like kind of right in
Put it
front
on
of them.
the
You can
wall or
say
something.
this passage.
Yeah.
Let's read it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the entire hadith. That's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good idea. All right, guys. Well, we got through that. Let's go around. Final thoughts on any of this, Anthony. Anthony, has this made you conclude that Allah is in fact the true God because He wants us to sin and needs help if He wants to do certain things?
It has done the opposite. It has reminded me of a couple of fundamental problems with the Islamic sources. Definitely not an argument for Allah, but a serious problem for belief in Him.
I would agree there. Jai, final thoughts on any of this?
Man, you were right. This was
you hadn't seen it.
This was different than the ones that we've seen so far. It was a cook fest for sure, but it was way higher higher heat than normal.
Yeah, with the first two prompts, I'm thinking, okay, they didn't offer any good responses to anything, but there were at least things where I could say, okay, but a Muslim might think that's a good response because it could be a new issue for some of them, and they don't know what we know, right? There's something that's called the curse of knowledge, that when you know something, you don't know you forget how it sounds to someone who doesn't know it, and that they might not be getting it or understanding it and stuff like that. And so, when Christina's making a point, we hear the response, we're thinking, okay, that had nothing to do with the response. But from an Islamic perspective, if that was new, they might think, oh, that was a good response. So for the first two, I was just thinking maybe they think something in there is a good response. Here, I can't think of anything that even they would think, that even Muslims would think was a good response at any point in there. Yeah. So wild stuff. And the only out on some of it would just be Quran only, and just to reject the Hadith. But then they had the part from the Quran. So rough times. So yeah, total massacre.
So yeah, I mean, man, they disagree amongst themselves, and they were telling us how much unity there is in Islam, and how confusion is means that the devil's involved and all that stuff. And so anyway, pray for them, guys. And like we say, Islam is just gonna keep destroying them in this way, and so just pray for them. And that's all I gotta say. In Jesus Lord.
Issa, how brokenhearted are you that your entire religion has been shattered before the eyes of everyone watching, and that 12 Muslim women could not take on even one Christian woman?
I definitely think these types of debates will make people become Christian sympathizers, and it may be Christian too. I mean, I think it's pretty heavy. Just being honest and transparent about that. Um, it I noticed that some of the Muslim sisters brought up like Christianity, and I think they probably have like a Christian background, like maybe family that's Christian too, and so they have certain kind of concepts of that, and it seems like they were more engaging with Christianity than with Islam, and I've noticed this a lot with these debates, is that a lot of the Christian apologists engage Islam and the Muslim apologists engage Christianity when it's a conversation about Islam, which is kind of off the topic. Like if you ever saw, whenever I did a debate, I was like, this is the topic we're talking about. We're not talking about this other topic. And it's strange because I think for a lot of people, it's very cultural. This is like a very cultural, personal type of thing. And I was thinking about this because working here in Kentucky, primarily most people here are Christian, right? And the people that I've been working with, I was wondering if a question like this would actually arise in a panel like this, which is, what is the impact of Islam and Christianity on the person? Like, what does it do to a person? Um, and a lot of the time, when I was speaking, particularly with people who, embraced Christianity, a lot of it was that they really did a full transformation. Like if they were doing substance usage, like a lot, and folks who even went to prison, substance usage left, like their whole life was changed. That was something that I've noticed, and from what I've heard, mostly from people who maybe like embraced Islam, like in prison, a lot of it is this kind of situation of like kind of this protective tribal kind of thing where you're protected in the clan, and it's not really this transformation in just everything you do. And maybe in some cases it is, but like from all the people that I've discussed, this is the same thing. It's like there's the same kind of theme that I've noticed over and over again. And I'm like, and it's curious because that is something like even when I work like in like Christian shelters and stuff, a lot of the folks, they say, look, I used to do these terrible things and now I'm transformed and I'm going and serving here. And I was like, wow, it's a pretty powerful type of thing because it's like a life transformative um, space. So it's like that's something that I've noticed over and over again. I would be curious if that was a question that asked, like, what is the impact on your life? What happens to you? Do you become accountable? What kind of things happen? And I think that's really the most compelling case that I've seen with Christianity. It's not even about logic and all of these things. It's more about the kind of compelling case of what it does to people. So that's kind of what I felt.
Nice.
All right, guys. Well, I'm ending the poll now. Not the way Muhammad ended some polls, but oh my goodness. Christina, 99-1.
Nice.
99-1. That is, I mean, it was voted a massacre yesterday. It was 96-4. I said today was worse, and it is 99-1. That is officially a massacre. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Again, tomorrow we'll be on Jai's channel tomorrow, 5:00, to go through the Quran preservation and Islamic dilemma stuff or whatever they're talking about. That'll be 5 p.m. 7 p.m. I'll be debating Andrew Wilson, and then after debating Andrew Wilson, be on IP's channel. So it'll be Inspiring Philosophy and God Logic and Lady Logic Christina, I think, will be joining us. So fun day tomorrow. I'll catch you all then.